Right. So welcome everyone. We are Healing Hearts, Healing Paws tonight, talking about the emotional body for humans and their pets. And we are your host. I am Rebecca Roseberry, the medical intuitive. I was going to say the health fairy, um, artist, healer, nutritionist, blah, blah, blah. And Dr. Kristen Colleran. I'll leave it from if you want to talk about your practice. You haven't really talked about your practice. No?
I guess I haven't so much. So I'm a holistic veterinarian and my practice is in Southport, North Carolina, and it is limited to acupuncture, chiropractic, herbal therapies, laser therapy, and I'm working on my homeopathy certification. So it's all about holistically healing pets from the inside out, bringing them back into balance so that they can live their best lives.
Oh, I love it.
I
So,
don't know why my screen is so dark and yours is so light. I have like all my lamps on. Sorry.
I might be able to adjust it when I edit it. I'm using one of those rings that
Mhm.
I could dim my light a little so there's less
No, it's
contrast.
okay. You look beautiful. You're fabulous. I just
But
I
all
think it's
right,
my
okay.
background. I think it's the lights here and there's a storm coming in. So it's
Oh,
probably,
okay. You
yeah,
know what? You could always do a fun background if you want. I'm doing a fun background,
I
right?
could. I could.
You
I'll
could.
look for one while you're doing that. Or
Okay.
while you're, oh, I don't want to do that. Eek.
So for those who are tuning in, please leave your Q&A comments, testimonials in the chat, or we'll pause, specifically to maybe for prompts, but we're just gonna wing it and go with the flow. So we're talking about the emotional body, which I did a course on the emotional body. Oh, we're changing the screen.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do
That's
that.
okay.
I don't know what
That's all right.
I don't know how to get out of it. Oh no.
This is fun.
See how to do the background.
You know
Uh,
what? We'll just edit that out, or
no.
maybe. Okay. So the emotional body is a
Okay.
course that I just put together on, I did an online course, and the emotional body fascinates me. I could learn and teach about it for the rest of my life. And this is exciting to talk about it and how, and I know it from the human perspective, and it's so fascinating to now tie it into our pets
Mhm.
and how they are influenced by us. So it's basically we're going to dive into some topics about how these two interrelate, and we're bringing awareness to the fact that they need to be interrelated and not. I got to slow down. We're moving into and expanding into oneness, and I'd say collectively it's best to see it as such and not compartmentalize. When you have like I'm always to me a red flag is you have your dentist, you have your cardiologist, you have your OB. I don't approach life that way. And, yet, yes, we need those specialists, but I think, holism by definition, we want to look at it all.
Mhm.
So rather than, just pieces of the puzzle. Yeah.
I agree. I agree.
Stop me at any time. So
I think people don't realize that animals have emotional lives. You know what I mean? Um, Maybe a certain population, but the general population, I think, don't realize it. So it's
I
good that we're going to
agree.
delve into it.
I agree. And even myself, like when I was like 20 some odd years ago, buying into what Christianity was teaching me about animals, and I'm like, really? Like almost what did I hear? Like they didn't have a soul or something like that. And I'm like, really? All basing it through the filter of everyone is a sinner, all that stuff. And I'm
Mhm.
okay. So anyway, we're going on a tangent. So I'll talk about my perspective as a medical intuitive. So when I read somebody, I read their different bodies. I read, and there are others, but I'll tell you, I read their aura, the edges of their aura. I read their spiritual body. I read their emotional body, and then I read their physical body. I don't do more than that. That will fill me up and keep me entertained and consumed with helping someone for a very long time. I don't need to learn any more than that, I promise. Otherwise, I would. But that seems to encompass all that is necessary to help somebody find their way out of whatever they're in and get them to a better place. What the emotional body is, so let me just give you the background from the human perspective, is we are, and if you've been following me, you've heard a variation of this at some point or another, but I come from a place of this person is channeling or has a center funneling of divine white light. That's, I think it's called the hara. And this is a place of pure, true, I'm thinking of the synonyms, truth, power, love, and that truth is the power. And that power is the truth. They're all this, we're all talking about the same thing. When people have belief systems, now I'm also coming from slightly the Christian perspective of we're all God's children. We're all equal. Now, when we have a symptom and when we have emotional issues, it is rooted in a belief system and all a belief system is a thought, a repetitive thought. And the thought is the body or the inner being that I was just expressing that I was just explaining, the body being that it's buffering or adjusting to this belief or thought, responding to it and giving you feedback as to whether it is true or not. Okay. Did I kind of make sense? Right?
Yeah.
I probably need to simplify it, but another way of saying is we are constantly filtering truth or falsehood. And the body is letting us know constantly whether we are missing the mark or not. Another Christian verbiage, but missing the
Maybe give
mark.
an example. Like, what would be an example of that? Like,
Okay.
is it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So if I had, okay, I'll tell you an example. The most when I read somebody and each symptom that they come to me with, I use it as a portal into their aura. It's like a doorway down the rabbit hole to find out what is going on that created it. And when I get there, I will always find an I can't. I will always find, if not an I can't, I'm trying to think of another one. Not off the top of my head. But it's usually an I can't, which the divine being within does not accept that whatsoever.
Mhm.
Whatsoever. It's I am or I am not, or it's something that is counterintuitive to our divine nature. So it's I can't stand this person, or the other, I'm trying to like pull one from yesterday. I hate him.
Mm.
Always negative, and it's always bad. It's always like, and you wonder why you have this health problem. So it's all this is a guidance system.
Mhm.
It's not a problem, it's a guidance system that we need to learn. Like you were saying, like the public needs to learn that animals have emotions too. We need to learn this guidance system so we can better navigate our journey here, right? So that's my little spiel on that. So we're all running meaning operating from patterns, programs, beliefs, and so forth. And it's whether we are conscious of them or not that makes the shift, right? So if you want to think of me as someone who is like going down into the abyss, into the underworld, and extracting the falsehoods that you're operating from, almost like, clearing a virus, a mental virus or emotional virus. So anyway, let me pause right there. Let me see if we have any questions and if you want to interject.
I guess I would just ask these negative thoughts that we have, or these, I think that they're probably based in like childhood woundings, right? So
Absolutely.
experiences that we had in childhood that led us to certain patterns of reacting in order to protect ourselves. And then those patterns as adults are not needed anymore because we don't need the protection, but we still have those patterns and they're causing blockages in our life, whether it's like physically or mentally or emotionally or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah. And these so if we're going on that topic of like childhood wounding, which is great. The majority of the people that I work with, I think all of us as adults collectively need to reparent ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And it just having the awareness that that's what's necessary. I mean, just me saying that can help somebody shift like, oh, I'm learning to reparent myself, or oh, this is what I need to do to feel better is I need to parent myself. Just that concept can help people shift because it's not, oh, let me take this prescription drug or let me cut this body part out and everything will be fine. It's no, you need to reevaluate what you survived and recontextualize it and reflect and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, yep, I get it. I think a lot of people don't really learn how to parent themselves because they haven't had good parenting role models, you know? Like there's no school for, that's not, no, that's not to blame parents. It's just that there's no school for going to parent or becoming a parent, you know? So it's hard to make that shift for some people, I think, to understand that they need to parent themselves or even if they understand that, how do they do that? You know,
Yeah.
I think it comes into like parenting yourself is, yeah, I mean, I think that can be hard for some people to learn.
Sure, it could be hard, but just accepting, okay, this is why why I'm struggling.
Mhm.
That's a good one of the books that I always recommend, for someone that is new to this, energy medicine and all holistic medicine is pick up the book by Louise Hay called You
Oh,
Can Heal Your Life.
mhm.
That's a really good reference guide for, okay, now I'm an adult, what do I do? What do,
Yeah,
you know?
it's handy too, I think, because it kind of localizes like if you have illness in certain areas of the body, what that can be related to or what to kind of like focus on for yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly. It's beautiful, and I so that is something that I recommend a lot um to get people to shift their thinking. So what else I have in my notes? So when people have health issues, they'll be in I can't, which I mentioned. They'll also
Mhm.
tell me I have blah blah blah. No, you don't. So it's just in how you speak. It's when people like a lot of especially just because of this time of year people will say I have allergies. Well, by saying I have allergies or by saying my allergies, you're reaffirming and attaching to the very thing that you're trying to
Mhm.
heal, and then the question is, do you really want to heal it? Because there is a payoff to being a certain way, to feeling a certain way, to having this condition. You have to look at both sides of the coin, but the first thing is to evaluate those two sides and even know that that's what's actually operating.
Right, right. Like you're identifying yourself as that condition, basically.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
attaching to it. It's like
Mhm.
so like when someone say I'm just thinking of someone would say, oh, can you check my, I think she said, my boil, like a boil on their foot.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I'm like, you mean your foot, right? It's like,
Mhm.
like it's how we talk. You don't want to say my boil. That's not normal physi physiology. Does that make sense?
Right, right. It's not your normal anatomy.
Yeah, it's not anatomy. That's the word.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, I hope I'm enlightening whoever's listening to this because it's really powerful when we like wake up and get it. It's like, oh, why, I've been saying this thing. So, let me see if we have nothing in the chats. Okay. So we were talking earlier about the common stressors, which I just want to point out when I read someone's aura and I go into their past, which is where all the good stuff is, right? Like what they've lived through, the big hot spots, the big traumas are death, divorce, moving, a loss, a change of job, a loss of job. What I also find is actually to traumas with something a little more mild, but traumas with siblings and starting school for the first time. That's a big trauma for people. And then Dr. Colleran, you mentioned long-term or chronic illness, right? That was another big one. So those are the big stressors. So and that can cause a lot of emotional stress. So anyway, I'll pass it along to you. You wanted to share from your perspective.
With pets.
Right.
Yeah, I think starting with puppies or young animal, like it's puppies and kittens. I don't think, as we were discussing earlier, I don't think that a lot of people understand, one, that pets do have emotions. There are a lot of vets as well who question that, and they talk about, anthropomorphizing, which is assigning certain emotions to pets, which in some cases is true. It can be a little dangerous to do that, in that we're interpreting certain behaviors as pets as an emotion that we would experience, but as a wild or a non-domestic or as a domesticated animal, it's a normal behavior for them. And so it's not going to be an emotional thing. But I think that we need to all remember and recognize that when we get a puppy or a kitten, like that animal had a mother, and at 8 weeks of age, sometimes 6 weeks of age, is separated from its mother and its pack or its pride. I don't know. Gosh, what are cats called? It's not pride. Anyway, but they're separated way earlier than they would be normally. So puppies will stay with their mothers and their pack up until around 3 years of age. So 3 years. And here we are taking a little baby puppy at 8 weeks of age from its mother, from its family, like its pack, way earlier, and then expecting it to function in an environment that we create for them, which is totally alien. And then we get frustrated with them if they're peeing in the house or they're mouthing and they're not learning all those behaviors that they would learn how to adjust if they were staying with the pack, or with their mother.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, having done like my own therapy for a while, it kind of makes me think about abandonment issues. And I know that could be anthropomorphizing in a way, but I think that we're seeing a lot more anxiety in our pets than we have previously. Now, I do think that it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it has to do with the diets that they're being fed, the expectations that people put on them, being separated from their mothers when they're too young before they've learned everything that they need to learn. I don't know, like you could get into like the 5G and electrical elements as well, surrounding us. But I think a lot of it is just diet and their environment and the separation. Like in the past 2 weeks, I've had 5 people call me regarding anxiety issues in their pets that they want to address. So, if I'm going to address that, we can address that holistically rather than just medicating and kind of suppressing those symptoms. So what we can use is Chinese medicine, acupuncture, and herbal therapy to help bring their energetic body and emotions back into balance, along with the owner or the pet parent curtailing their expectations, like looking at it and saying, oh, this is a younger animal, or this animal has been put into an environment that's changed, like through divorce, and now instead of living with two people that they were used to living with, that was their pack, now they only have one animal. I just saw someone today who adopted her dog 4 years ago, and the dog was 5, and he was adopted because his owners separated and then divorced, and his female owner got him, but she started working more hours in order to be able to support herself and wasn't home enough for him. And so she decided to rehome him so that and she moved into a smaller house. So he didn't have as much space to move into. And at least she recognized that she couldn't provide for his needs, and she got him a new home. But he has to deal with that change. Like, here he has this pack that's been totally disrupted, and now he's in a new home that's just expecting him to adapt very easily, where the people who have adopted him are not thinking about hey, this is a big stressor and a big change for him. And there's going to be an adaptation period that we have to work through. And how can we best support this pet?
Uh,
So I can help them with that with acupuncture and herbs, or homeopathy can really benefit that. But I feel like those holistic modalities, let's say those alternative modalities, are a much better way to affect change in a pet or bring that pet back into balance again, where they're more happy and comfortable. That also has to go along hand in hand with the pet parent curtailing expectations, offering more support and understanding and compassion to this animal so that they can step into this new family and this new role and find their way.
you're totally right.
What?
No, I was gonna offer something. I wonder if you're open to it. No, I'm just feeling into like, wow. If we wanted to collectively, like those animals that you were saying were like high anxiety, if you
Mm.
wanted me to tune into them collectively and see if or if you do that yourself to see like what they're saying to us, or what they're, I use the word broadcasting, what they're, are you
I
interested?
don't, sure, go for it. I mean, so I had this like near-death experience, and then I went through Reiki training. And I had, attunements through the training. And since then, I can hear animal. I have clear, I guess I get images from them. Sometimes I hear them. Mostly it's images. So I just get pictures. So I get kind of an idea sometimes about things.
So let's do it together.
Okay.
Just
You want to
just
tune into
for,
these particular pets I'm talking about, or just in general? Like,
well, I didn't want to be invasive. So I'm just thinking the ones that that you have interacted with, that you're holding in mind, right? That you're referring to
mhm.
collectively, we could tune in and see what they're trying to say. If there's a general message, maybe they're all individual. I don't know.
Okay, sure.
But if, I mean, I don't know. I just thought I'd be creative and spontaneous.
Yeah. Let me just think about, okay, so I was talking about that guy. Well, um, yeah, we can think, yeah, okay. I've got the two in my head.
Okay, let's just see. So let me just ask the universe, is there a common thread between these two? You mentioned two. Okay. Okay. So what they're saying, if I put them together, is we're not getting enough attention.
Mhm.
Let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so I have clear audience if you haven't figured it out. But I know that's not their primary way of communication is through visions, right? Like the
Mhm.
an
Images.
image.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, let's see if there's anything else. So they're not getting enough attention. Is there anything else? Is one of them? I mean, I don't. One of them feels like it's responding to the anxiety is a result of one of the owners not being in good health. So it's like a horn blowing, like,
Mhm.
please look at this. Please look at this.
Well, and that's how we decided to start this whole podcast, right? Is the connection between pets' emotions and people, or pets and their people, right? And so
Yeah,
that's it
yeah,
right there, is that this,
yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
It's like a red flag. It's like, please look at this. So that's only on one of them. All right, so that's interesting. They need more attention, and one of them is concerned about their owner.
Hmm.
Okay. All right, let's see. Do we have any question? Nothing in the chat, really. Everyone's just on and sitting at the edge of their seats.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Um, I do see that just like with people having emotional issues that result in physical challenges, I do see that in pets. Like a lot of times emotional stuff I think in people as well, shows up as skin issues or autoimmune. Um, so a lot of dogs with allergies, I'm not saying all, but a lot do, there is an emotional element beneath that for sure.
Yes,
One
yes.
particular patient comes to mind. I think we talked about this little Yorkie before who had severe allergies, and her pet parent was in a marriage where she did not feel appreciated or valued by her husband or her son. She felt very much excluded, not cared for. And this little dog had the most horrendous skin issues I have seen. She actually went to stay with a homeopathic vet for a month who cleared everything. Her skin normalized. And within a week of going back to her owner, everything started up again. And we both talked about it with this, parent, and we were, explaining the connection. She could see the connection. But the thing is that that dog was giving her the love that she was not getting in her marriage and from her son, and so that was a hard call for her. So she wouldn't give up the puppy, and I've lost track of her. So I don't know what's going on with her, or how
Oh,
she is, or how that poor puppy is. But
yeah.
hopefully, she decided to make some changes in her life that would make her happy, which then
So
would make the puppy better. I should keep saying puppy, but I always call dogs like pups or puppy. I mean, even though they're like, if they're 13 years old, I'll still say puppy. So
it's
my
cute.
bad. My bad.
No, it's cute. It's endearing. So when I was tuning into this, this afternoon, like just meditating beforehand,
Mm.
the because so my intention was, and my question was, why can't these animals not pick up on their owner stuff? That would be like 50% of the issue, right? That would help out a lot.
Oh.
if they
Mm.
if we weren't if the animal wasn't so empathic by nature, right? If they could kind of protect themselves and not take on the owner's energy, that would be lovely, because they're so empathic. So the stone that I got, the message was use shungite. So I wanted to
Mm.
pass that along. Shungite is great for, now shungite. What I know about shungite is, I make necklaces and bracelets using it, but it helps tremendously for to buffer the EMF
Mhm.
um frequencies. So it's some type of neutralizer. But anyway, that came through for the for animals. So I don't know, maybe they should make collars or something with shungite in it, right?
Yeah, it could be. That's interesting because there's a holistic vet. I went to one of her lectures at one of our conferences a few years ago, a number of years ago, actually, and she talked about there were 3 dogs in her practice that came in and they were all experiencing behavioral issues. And they were similar
Mhm.
qualities to the behavioral issues. And on looking at the records, at one point, she realized they all lived in the same neighborhood. And at that time, the electric company or the power company changed over from remember when they would come in your yards and they would say meter man and they would come read your meter? They changed over from that to the automated meters, which was, I don't know if it's like, like an internet or whatever pickup. And it was at the time that these dogs started showing problems. And so it clicked with her and she just said, look, this could be part of the issue. So why don't you call and ask them to switch back to manual for you rather than remote reading? And when they switched back to manual, the abnormal
Uh,
behavioral symptoms resolved.
Oh, I love
So,
it. I
so
love
very
it.
interesting. It's a lot of things we don't think about. There's a really interesting book called oh my gosh, I think it's The Electric Rainbow. And it's about the advent of electricity and everything that kind of rolled on from there, and how we've seen like an increase in diseases. Like heart disease never used to be so predominant. And then they saw an increase in it after I think streetcars went in San Francisco or something. So it's very interesting to see that. And the animals we know are very energetic and pick up on things very easily because their senses are a lot more developed than ours. Like our senses kind of moved into our frontal cortex and they
Yeah,
kept a lot of their, intricate innate senses intact. So that would make sense to me.
I like that book. That sounds like something I want to read. So you
It's super,
said,
it's super big. It's like this thick. I mean, but it's
oh,
fascinating. It's fascinating. I will send you the
great.
link. If anyone's interested,
Yeah.
we can post the link as well, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. That sounds really good. Because
Mhm.
I heard some horror stories with the I don't know if it was the Spanish flu, but it was something, making the connection with either I think it was electricity in the early 1900s, was it? I don't know.
Yes,
I'm
yes, there
maybe
was an outbreak of it, and it was around the same time that there was was it streetlights? Might have been the streetlights when they started putting streetlights in.
well,
Something
I'm
like
sure
that.
it's in that book. I don't
It
I,
is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that sounds good. Um so you brought up a lot of things that I've never considered myself about animals. Like that is so sad,
Hmm.
like them being taken from their family so young.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's a huge issue. And it just like it does get a little frustrating when I try to talk to people about it and they're not seeing it, or they don't want to. I mean, some people just don't want to. But like for instance, I know someone who just adopted a puppy and she was like, this puppy is not going to pee in the house. And she sent the puppy off for training. And that's not the right thing to do. The right thing to do is have patience with the puppy and understand it's a baby. That's like saying like an 8-week-old baby, I'm going to rip the diaper off and just expect it not to pee. I mean, they have to learn control. They have to grow and develop that. And you have to have understanding, compassion. And training is not just for the puppy. Training is for you raising the puppy, for you
yeah,
learning how to deal with the puppy or the kitten, how do you parent a cat? How do you parent a dog? What is
yeah,
the normal behavior for them? How can you communicate? How can you understand their body language? Because that's the thing, like we all can verbalize to each other. I can pop a rib and you may not even know it, but I'll say, oh my God, I popped my rib. I can't reach for anything. It's too sore. But a dog has a vertebral restriction and they can't tell you that there's something uncomfortable. All you can do is eventually, when it's bad enough, you're going to see that they're having trouble getting up steps or getting onto the couch or getting into the car or whatever. And then you'll seek out help and we can fix it. But
yeah,
most of the time, we catch a lot of things late in pets because they can't verbalize and because we're not clued in enough to pick up on those subtle body language clues.
yeah. Yep, 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 yep. I'm so glad we're doing this, and I hope people start paying attention differently to their animals.
Yeah, because I think that like the biggest thing is we want to have good relationships with our pets because they're family.
Yeah,
But also when something is going on with our pet, we need to start thinking, okay, what's going on with myself or what's going on in my life that could be related
right.
to this? Like, is there a behavioral change? What's happening with me? How am I feeling? Um, has there been something that's been kind of bothering me physically or emotionally or whatever that I need to get looked after? Just like that woman who had the dog and she had severe you know, worth issues, leading to this poor dog being so stressed out because she's absorbing that energy. She's living in that like energetic environment of not being enough or not being loved, and this resulted in like major illness for her. So I think we have to start being open to the idea that if whatever's happening in our pets, start looking at yourself or your family or like what is happening in that immediate environment that may be part of it, or that maybe like this pet is displaying certain issues or certain symptoms of something that could be cluing you in that there's an imbalance around you that needs to be addressed, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes, I second that. Absolutely. 100%.
Right. So that's where people can like see something going on with their pets and I can address that, but then they look and say, oh, you know what? I think I have something going on. I've been feeling this weird like sensation in my chest, or I've been really cross lately or really short with people. And maybe I need to call Becky to address that because that may be part of what I'm seeing with my pet as well. So that way
Yeah.
we can address, both the human and their little pet.
We are a good team.
We are.
So, let me see if anyone. Okay, there's one thing in the chat. I think that was Fantasia.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am
yeah,
always
I
sad.
know. Oh my gosh. This is a so this is a really terrible story, but I will tell it I'm not going to get into the details on it, but a friend of mine had adopted a dog, uh, weird situation with a breeder who is not a breeder. She's a puppy mill for sure. But she said that it was a purebred dog and he was into that. And if he basically would foster the dog, let her have 2 litters, and then he would get the dog for free. So he was going to do that. So the woman took the dog back when she was old enough. She came into heat. She was bred. She came back to live with my friend. And then when she was having the puppy, she went back to this breeder. And the breeder then called him. I think maybe the puppies were 6 weeks old and 6 or 7 weeks old. And she was having a parvo virus outbreak, which is very serious and deadly to puppies, and had a flea outbreak as well, and asked him to come and get the mother. And then she told him that she was like forcing a separation between the mother and this puppy because she was going to keep the puppy to sell. And she said the 2 of them were in bits about it, but she did it anyway. And I was like, oh my God, like so sick and just sickened by it.
Yeah.
And it just really like brought home like what we are doing to these puppies, and that, we just really need to have more understanding and patience
More understanding, more patience,
and
more
adopt
awareness.
more pets instead of
Yeah.
going for purebred puppies because there's so many pets in homes.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel that we could bring on the participants, and I mean, you and I could chat about this all day, but maybe I don't know if there's anything.
Well, does anyone have maybe any questions about their like behaviors in their own pets or situations with their pets or with themselves? Maybe they've had like some kind of chronic issue that has been bothering them that maybe they want you to tune into. I know you were talking about doing
Yeah. Yeah,
a
so what
behavior
we can
session or something.
so if anyone wants to take themselves off of mute or video, if that's easier, because I think that would be easier.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
think so.
feel
If they feel
free.
comfortable doing that, you know.
Dun, dun, dun. Or not.
What do you mean? Fantasia's up.
Can you hear me? See me?
There you are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Go for it. So
The
what's
jungle.
your
I like that you're in the jungle.
It looks like grass. You're a little munchkin. You're like a gnome.
so so Fantasia, do you have a question, comment? Do you want me to do a reading? Do you have a testimonial?
Um, no, you can do a reading.
On who, what?
Um, what are my options?
No, is there anything that you'd like more insight on, that you need help with? I mean, you tell me. You have a specific
Um,
issue.
yeah, you when you were talking about Louise Hay, like you can heal your life, that book, and she's so great. You just hear her voice. You don't even have to see her face, and it's like, oh, Louise. But I find that I watch a lot of videos and read a lot of books, but what's missing for me is like a tangible thing, like the next step. And I never feel like after I read something that there's a next step. It's always like, oh, that was good, but I'm not going to remember it. And oh, well.
All right. So what are you trying to get to?
I guess just that, whatever I'm reading or learning about, like if you do this, this will happen. And I don't feel like anything ever happens or I'm doing it right or it just
Mm-hmm.
never seems like there's the next step. Like you're watching a TED talk, but it's like, well, could you come here so I can interact with you and ask questions and get more information?
So one thing that I would say is, just right off the bat, without doing a reading, that the world needs, like any type of book or any type of new information that I really want to integrate, really has to be done methodically, almost like you're taking a course, a college course, where you're like digesting the textbook inside and out. And it's not like you can learn, learn of a new concept, but it needs to be absorbed and integrated. Right. So can be a symptom of not being grounded or being impatient. Just saying, right? Without going deep. That it's not like, especially in this day and age where, with the internet, it's like this very fast paced, get it now kind of mentality, but life it's not a good representation of the learning process, in that it's just a tool. You still have to take your time to integrate something and really hone it and make it your own if that's what you want to do, right? So it's just getting out of that mindset that everything, comes fast now, because it's, you still have to put the time and energy. But let me see specifically for you if there's something that is maybe keeping you from integrating or being more patient, or I don't know, let's just say. So your higher self with respect to this topic. Okay, so your higher self is saying, I can't seem to find my groove and I'm looking outside myself for it. Okay,
Sounds about right.
so what if you, and by the way, when I say higher self, let's just say your spirit. This is what your spirit is saying. So your spirit is putting that out there, and that's what you're, essentially that's validating what you just said, right? Like your experience. What you could shift into is to do let's just see, let me talk to your guides. Okay, so what your guides are saying is that you're afraid to go deep. So there's a fear of doing the integration part and going deep into something. So that's something to explore. What you could do is journal, what I always recommend: journal, pray, meditate, and the emotional freedom technique, which I'm chuckling about mentioning, even because we know that you still have some resistance to it, but nonetheless. So there's probably some big unknown as to why, or judgment why you're not going deep enough on what you'd like to learn more about. And then the other thing is go deep within yourself, right? You don't want to go outside to get the information so much as how it resonates with you. And does that make sense so far?
It does.
Okay. Let me see if there's any other. Yeah, I keep hearing you're afraid to go deep. So why not? What's so scary? The deep waters, the deep unconscious. I don't know. Go deep. I love going deep, because when you go into the depths, there's more truth and validity than just being on the surface. It's more quality, there's more value, Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
You got it. Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, I think Luna's just happy to be here. She had some bacon and she's just chilling out.
Mhm. I got Finn here too. Finn. There is I just want to throw in, there's a really interesting therapeutic tool called IFS, Internal Family Systems. I've heard of it. I'm just kind of delving into it a little bit, but there's a book by the psychologist who pioneered it, Richard Schwartz. It's called No Bad Parts. And one of the things that they talk about is that we have these parts of ourselves that have been wounded and been buried. They're called exiles. And then we have parts of ourselves that are protectors that protect that. And sometimes we can't get to those deeper parts because our protectors have set up these patterns to keep us from going deeper because it's so painful. And I listened to a couple of podcasts with him talking, and he ran through a couple of sessions, and they were really interesting in that they were able to get to some of these deeper issues in like much more quickly than I think that I would, that I think that you can find during regular like talk therapy or whatever. And in ways sometimes that were not very traumatic, because it's like you're just kind of showing this, because the wounded part is usually a child, it's something that happened when you were younger. And so you're showing them you're the adult and you're here now, I mean, it was really fascinating. So I think there are some things that have happened that are just so painful, like, and wounding, that they're hard to access. And so this is a good way to do it in a way that's safe and not traumatic. And while I was listening to a couple of them, a few things came up into my head and I kind of worked through them. Now I've done therapy. So, but I was able to work through them and I actually felt like lighter afterwards. So so that might be a kind of track to go towards and
Yeah,
just
no,
look
that's
into it,
great. 'Cause
And a
I,
lot of things like have workbooks that you can work through as well. And so that allows you to kind of move deeper into it additionally.
no, that sounds great.
Yeah, so please put that in the description too, like in the comments, right? So people can access that. I'm interested as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's fascinating.
What's the person's name?
Richard Schwartz, Schwartz. No Bad Parts. That's the name of he's got a couple of books, but that's like the main one.
What was that?
And there's actually a website. If you Google internal family systems, the website will come up and there's tons of information on that.
What was the rainbow book called?
I think it's Electric Rainbow. It might not be Electric Rainbow.
But we'll put it in later just to make sure.
Oh, okay. There's a in the chat.
Invisible Rainbow, The Invisible Rainbow.
Oh.
By Arthur Firstenberg. F as in Frank, Irstenberg. Yeah, that's a fascinating book.
So does our other participant want to share anything? Now is the time.
Yeah, she's good.
All right. Well, I think I feel complete. If we've given people the awareness and some tools and some insights to maybe think of, see life through a different lens, or, with more understanding, then that's the first step. And then reach out to one of us if you need more depth or professional insight. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we are the messengers, right? Like, to make this connection and bring awareness to this, that this is what's going on, especially the unconscious stuff. For me, I mean, I love it because people aren't, they just are not aware, hence the issue, right? Hence why they're struggling is. And so just to have this a different blueprint or a different way of looking at things is part of the healing, the beginning. So
yeah, and I think just understanding that pets do have emotions. Like, I mean, we know this, but I think it's also interpreting them correctly in light of they are not human beings. So certain things for them are normal behaviors, but certain things aren't. And then just understanding and having more compassion for the pet experience with humans as it is now, like being taken from their, pack and their mother early, having understanding for the growth process that has to happen, understanding that you need training as a human being on how to understand and support your pet best. And then when things crop up later with illness or certain symptoms or behavioral changes or whatever, trying to look at, okay, this is happening with my pup, but or my cat, is there something in my environment also that could be affecting it? Either me, family member, home changes, that kind of thing. So it's definitely keeping an open mind and a compassionate heart, I think, in general.
Yeah. My two dogs that I had, Twinky's no longer here, and then Luna, were both from people who keep getting dogs and have no clue what to do and get angry, and I somehow I end up with those dogs, and those people just I don't keep taking their dogs, but they just keep getting more and more and then getting rid of them, and I'm like,
The
what?
same people?
Yeah, like they just don't know how to pet.
Oh my gosh.
parent pet, any animal, a rabbit, a cat, they just get them and then they stop after like, the dog's chewing, the dog's biting. Well, the dog's a puppy. Put something in its mouth. It's like you have to, but like you said, they just kind of expect the dog like to be magical and know what to do. It's a puppy.
I know. You got to think about like what would you expect an infant to be able to, cook breakfast or
My friend said something once I thought was really, I was like, you know what, that's true. A dog's the only animal that has to ask to go outside, to go to the bathroom.
true. Very true.
Cats, rabbit, birds, they don't have to ask.
Mhm.
So you bring the dog in your house, the dog has to go to the bathroom, is going to. It's not going to think that's a rug or a floor. And if you don't bring it out on a schedule,
Mhm.
you get
I
mad.
know. Yes. And then people complain like if a dog like poops in the house or something, they're always like, oh, and he went on the clean, rug as well, or the most expensive rug in the house and everything. And they don't think like, so that is an anthropomorphism that's not correct. They're not going on, they don't know how much the rug costs. They just know that the texture feels good to them.
Yeah.
So
I
this
will tell you though,
yeah.
Luna gets mad at me, she goes and pees on the little carpet in the bathroom. Like if I'm gone too long, she'll go on. And so
you know what that is? That's an abandonment. That's an anxiety thing. So it's not so much anger. That's her being anxious.
but
Yeah.
she does do it.
She
I'll say,
knows where to go. Yeah.
yeah, but she was locked in a garage for like a year and I had to undo her. She was twisted this way. I had to twist her back. Yeah, she was bad. She was
Okay.
bad, but she's with me now. She gets bacon. Yeah.
Good. Well, good.
Very
Yeah,
good,
this is
Poppy.
it, I wish there was like you had to have a license to get pets and kids. Like you should have training in order to have kids, and you should have training in order to get a pet,
Yeah, I
That's
agree.
a good point.
Mhm.
Ooh, you're onto something.
Well,
That's a
at
good
least they
point.
have a whole system now for people who do harm animals. Before that wasn't a thing. So at least they're having their backs looked after for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends. I wish that there was like, just as doctors are legally required to report suspected abuse, I wish that veterinarians had that as well. Because without that, a lot of veterinarians, especially older school veterinarians, but I guess especially older school, but also now with the advent of social media, a lot of vets are afraid to do that for the backlash that they would get from the person. But they have to remember that we took an oath to protect animals. We didn't take an oath to protect pet owners, so
Right.
it's all about the animal. But yeah,
Mhm.
I know. Oh, bye, Luna.
Nice to see you guys. That's my bacon.
All right, so we're gonna do another one coming up. I don't know. We'll figure out what that topic is. We'll figure all those details out. But I think this I feel really pleased with this episode.
Yeah,
And
I think also like if people want to maybe comment below, because I know that I posted on my page, I know you posted on your page, if they want to comment like topics of interest that they would like to
yeah,
see addressed, we could do that too.
definitely, that would be a lot of fun. Well, thank you, everyone.